Hello everybody, welcome to Stay Inspired with Dadson Ogbor on Television Nigeria. On this show, we'll be bringing you a lot of inspirational content that will challenge and motivate you to ensure that you begin to do those things that you know you ought to be doing. A lot of people are gifted and talented, but not many people are actually utilizing their gifts and abilities. I'm reminded at this time of the words of a great man, Miles Monroe. He said, and I quote, that the richest place in our world today is not the oil fields of Iran or Iraq, but it is the cemetery, because we find a lot of people who have died with gifts and abilities that they should have been using, but they did not use for whatever reason. Books they should have written that they did not write. Music that a lot of people should have benefited from, but for whatever reason, they did not do anything about those things. Maybe because they were afraid, maybe because they thought about like, what would people say, what if they fail? Now, on this show, we'll be bringing you a lot of inspirational content like I talked about. We'll bring a lot of enterprising Nigerians. We'll bring them on the show to ask them a couple of questions as to how they were able to develop their businesses or advance in their careers. One wise man said something. He said that success leaves clues. And then when you find out what successful people are doing and you begin to do those things, then ultimately, over time, you begin to experience the kinds of results that they have. So it's a wonderful time that we would have on this show. Furthermore, we'll also engage a lot of government agencies and government officials. We'll bring them on the show to ask them questions about what the government is doing with regards to entrepreneurship development in Nigeria. We'll bring them to ask them this question so that those of you watching this show will be aware of those government interventions or initiatives that have been put in place for you. So if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have something that you are working towards, you want to develop yourself, you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, I'd like for you to connect. Go watch our videos on Television Nigeria. I'm inviting you to like our page on Facebook, Television Nigeria. You can also follow me on Instagram. Send me a message. Let's connect. If you have a business idea that you would like us to showcase on this show, then this show is definitely for you. I'll be right back. Don't go away. All right, welcome back, everybody. You're watching Stay Inspired with Dadson Ogbor on Television Nigeria. Today, before I bring up my inspiring young entrepreneurs, I'd just like to say something to you on the subject building capacity for the future. We find that a lot of people want to occupy certain positions, but necessarily they do not have the capacity to function within that place. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a politician, or you find yourself running your own business, there's a need for you to build capacity and to build that capacity now. A lot of the times we have opportunities. I say that it is a tragedy for you to come face to face with an opportunity that you are not prepared for. So let's look at what the definition of capacity is. Capacity is the maximum amount that something can contain. If I took a 1 liter bottle and I try to put in 10 liters of water into that 1 liter bottle, it would not contain it because it does not have that capacity. Employers of labor sometimes have the tendency to put people in positions that they do not have the qualification or the capacity to function within that particular position. So capacity simply is the maximum amount that something can contain, the ability to perform or produce. What is your capacity? That's what we're talking about today. What do you have the capacity to do? Are you performing to the optimum level of your capacity? So we have people who not really excelling in politics or excelling in their careers because they do not have the capacity. Now, if I have the privilege of speaking to a lot of entrepreneurs around a platform called Smart Coach, and we speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. These entrepreneurs, then you ask them a question like, what do you want? They say, I'm looking for monies to fund my business. But when you start asking them questions, you realize that they do not have the capacity to even manage the resources that they're looking forward to. All right, so the definition of capacity is the power to learn or retain knowledge. The power to learn or retain knowledge. The position in which somebody functions. So you have the capacity to authorize certain things that you need to do. So on capacity building, you cannot handle what you do not have the capacity for. You cannot handle what you do not have the capacity for. Let me go on and say this, that you cannot give what you do not have. Entrepreneurs who build capacity over time can handle entrepreneurial challenges a lot better than those who do not spend time to build capacity. So when the opportunity presents itself, there are entrepreneurs who say that they are looking for funding, but when the opportunity presents itself for them to make a pitch or to talk about their businesses or to talk about the ideas that they have, you see that they do not have the capacity to even function within that particular level. So if you're a visionary person and you're watching me today and you're saying that I need to get to a particular place in my career or in my business endeavor, then you need to build capacity now. The time to prepare for the future is now. The time to prepare for where you're going is now. Now, if you look at the slide on my screen, you'll find that I said something, this is a quote from me, that you can never carry beyond what you have the capacity to carry. So I'm looking at two pictures here. Now, one picture is a picture of a cruise ship, and the other picture is a picture of a small boat. Now, the small boat and the cruise ship, they both carry passengers. One is able to carry about 5 or 6 people, while the other one would carry, obviously, in hundreds because it has the capacity to do so. So it's important that we develop capacity depending on your size. Now, if you cannot manage a company of 2 staff members, chances are you will never be able to manage a company that has 10 staff members because you have not developed capacity in that particular regard. We'll go on break, and after this break, I'll just share a few tips with you on how to build capacity as an entrepreneur. And when we come back after that, we will introduce our guest that we will be interviewing on the show today. Stay with me. Welcome back. We've been talking about building capacity for the future. I just would like to share a few tips with you on the show today on how to build capacity as an entrepreneur. Number one, you have to build a formidable foundation. It's important that you have a formidable foundation. A lot of people want to go into business, but I can tell you, in this part of the world or anywhere around the world, it is extremely difficult to be an entrepreneur. So you have to have a solid foundation. The question is, what are your inherent values? What do you believe in? What do you believe? Do you believe in your idea enough to do something about it and to go out and make something happen? A lot of people have ideas, but it's not enough for you to have an idea. You have to be willing to do something about the idea that you have. My second point is continuous learning. You need to get to the point where you're consistently learning and developing yourself, because you never know when an opportunity would come. You never know when you'll be sitting face to face with a potential investor or a potential angel investor, if you may, that probably would like to invest in your business. So you need to consistently develop yourself. We live in a world where people prefer to go for concerts, they prefer to go for shows that entertain them. Not that there's anything wrong with doing those things, but you also need to invest in your own personal development. And basically, that's what this show is about. Point number 3. You need to find and engage mentors. A lot of entrepreneurs actually do need mentors. You need people who have done it, people who have gone ahead of you to ensure that you limit your mistakes. Now, for someone like myself who's done business and made a lot of mistakes, those mistakes would have been minimized if I had mentors who would share from their experience, and I would definitely be in a position to learn a lot better. So these are positively minded people who would challenge you and motivate you, and there'll be times where you'll feel down. There'll be times when nobody's buying the products that you're producing. There'll be times when you'll feel like giving up. So you need those mentors in your life who will challenge you and inspire you to keep on moving on. And number 4, which is my final point for today, do not be afraid to try out new things. Don't be afraid to try out new things. A lot of people are doing exceptionally well today, but when they started, if you would question them, they will tell you definitely they did it afraid. So go out there, do something, put yourself out there. Now, I had someone who was talking to me about the fact that they needed to learn how to make presentations or speak to potential investors. And I said that the only way you do something is to go out and do it. You can't talk to me about the fact that you want to learn how to swim without going into the pool to swim. All right. That's all we have time for today. But when we come back, we'll be interviewing our guests, young entrepreneurs who are doing exceptionally well for themselves. All right, don't go away. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back. You're still watching Stay Inspired with Dadson Ogbor on television Nigeria. And today I'm joined with some phenomenal young entrepreneurs who are doing exceptionally well for themselves in their business endeavor. I'm joined on the show today with Mr. Lawrence Bitrus. He is founder and CEO of Creatify Incorporated. Also to my right is Mr. Elvis Kahilam, who is also a co-founder and chief administrative officer with Creatify Incorporated. So I'm going to be asking them to just basically introduce themselves and let our viewers know a little bit more about them. Can we start with you, sir?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you for having us in the show. I really, really appreciate this opportunity. I'm Bitrus Lawrence. I'm founder, CEO, Creatify. I'm a branding expert. I provide digital solutions for businesses and also help them create distinctive identities that leads to business growth.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Elvis.
I'm Elvis Akilam, I'm the CEO of Creatify. So like you said, what we do is digital solutions, basically from branding to website development, software development, and all of that. So basically we help businesses digitalize their processes, and that's what we do basically.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome on the show. My first question to you, now this show is about staying inspired. So the first question I'm going to ask you obviously is, how do you stay inspired?
Yeah, that's a tough one because there's a lot of things that really, really inspired me, starting from home. First of all, I'll give credit to my parents, especially my mom. She did so much in making sure she inspires me. She makes sure that I read the right books. She makes sure that I followed the right friends. She makes sure that I went to the best school. And then she did a lot in that aspect. So how do I stay inspired? I stay inspired by looking at how she's been able to manage herself, manage the family, grow the family itself and all of that. And then she points at me and to a lot of great people, and then she asks me, do you want to be like those people? I'm like, yeah, I really like this person, and why? And then she feeds me with books like books of Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, Comrade Cornelius Vanderbilt, and then all of those people. So reading their autobiographies goes a long way in inspiring me. What they've done, how they've grown their business, and all of that inspires me a lot.
Awesome, awesome. That's truly phenomenal. All thanks to your mom.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Elvis, what inspires you?
Oh, I have to say I'm inspired by people a lot. Like, when I see people doing stuff, I just really try to get in their shoes and know what they were thinking. You know, as a kid, I usually pick apart my toys anytime I get them because I want to know what was inside. You know, whoever must have created it, what they were thinking about before creating that, you know. So I get inspired by people a lot, people who are doing stuff, creatives, right? So, and I just feel if you can have imaginations and dare to bring them to life, you know, you're the kind of person I want to look up to because that is what I basically do.
Okay, thank you. So what I can take from what both of you have just talked about now is the fact that you looked up to people, you read books, you exposed yourself to inspirational materials that helped you get where you are today. So my next question is, I'm sure this is for you, CEO of Creatify. How did you start? Now, this show is about entrepreneurship development, and we have a lot of young people who are, instead of thinking about business ideas that they can work on, they rather would do internet fraud and those kinds of things. But here you are as a young person who's a Nigerian. How did you start?
Wow. I wouldn't say it was easy, but I'm going to be frank with you. It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah.
I started in a very rough way. First of all, I would like to say I was a cafe boy. Yeah, I was a cafe boy.
What do you mean by cafe boy?
When I mean cafe boy, like way back, then a lot of cyber cafes that opened up where people just go use computers and all of that. So we start up with, you go to the cyber cafe, you buy time, maybe 100 naira, 200 naira, and then you get access to the computer, solo time like that. So then, because of the part where I come from, my parents didn't really believe in this whole IT thing and all of that. They just want you to be great, but they just selectively want you to be great. There's a particular aspect they want you. They wanted me to read medicine and all of that. But that wasn't the line I was looking out for. I was looking out for something that actually helps me bring out my imagination. So I go to the cyber cafe, no money, nothing to use the time with. So what I do is that I sit back and then watch people using their time. So when they have 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes left of their time, then I beg for such time. So I beg for 1 minute, beg for 5 minutes, beg for 7 minutes, and all of that. So at the end of the day, I stay like 6 hours in the cyber cafe, and then I get all of the time that I put all of those minutes time. That maybe I have like 25 minutes or 30 minutes to use the computer. And then it started that way. Then at some point I said, oh, I'm loving this computer thing very much. I'm loving the IT thing, the technology. I want to go deep. So I went to the man that owns the cyber cafe. I said, sir, please, I love computer a lot. I know I don't have money to buy all of the time and all of that. Can I come and be sweeping this place every day? I want to be cleaning up the computer space. And then in turn, if there's nobody using the computer, you open for me and I get access to it. So I started that way. I go every morning, Monday to Friday, clean up the place. Once they're not using the computer, I get access to the computer, and then I begin to use it. Okay. And then the taste for more, I began tasting for more. I wanted to use the computer after time, because after work, they're closed by 8. And I wanted more. I want to go home with the computer and still be with it 1 to 2 a.m. But I can't do that in the office because I have to leave. So what I did, I was like, okay, I need a computer myself. I started saving 15 naira and all of that. My first computer was 22,000. Wow. And then guess how many times I paid for it?
How many?
I paid 8 times. And then guess how many months?
How many months?
I paid in the space of 7 months.
Wow.
So that's how I started. And then from there, got my own first computer. I still have it at home, and I pray one day I put it in my own gallery or museum or something like that. Okay. So I started that way. From there, developed passion for graphics, branding, anything that has to do with visuals. Then started designing, web design little by little, and I was like, oh, there's a need to gather 1 or 2 people, and I liaised with a few of my friends that were also coming up, loving the whole IT and technology thing, and then we came together and then formed what is called a clique of freelancers. So from there, we started, and then we do jobs, we go here, we design banners, we move there, you have a program, we want to do your kids having birthday, we want to do your flyer and all of that, and then that's how we started. So from a computer up to 2000, we started making some money, and then I got another one, 75,000. I paid for that one once, and then I felt really good. And then from there and so on, moved to a bigger computer, and I now have a computer worth almost 400,000 there. Wow. That makes me feel really, really good. And then at some point, because we started 4 years ago, 4 years ago. It's 4 years old now. Right. We started 4 years ago. By 2016. We said, okay, there's a need to actually look like a typical business and then package all of these things and then be a one-stop for anything that has to do with digital solutions and all of that. So,
okay, so sorry to cut you, but when you talk about digital solutions, what are you talking about? Okay. Like branding?
Yeah, branding. I'm talking about branding. I'm talking about web design. I'm talking about software development. I'm talking about virtual and augmented reality. I'm talking about digital marketing and all of those. So they're all digital services. Right. So we decided to incorporate the business. Before we were called Creatify Technology, and then we moved to Creatify Inc. And then we registered the company as a limited liability company with CAC. And then we started the business properly. And then today we have partners, and then we have staff.
And co-founders
and then we have co-founders as well.
Wow, interesting story. Now, this is what we're watching is Stay Inspired with Dadson Ogbor, and we're talking with the CEOs and founders of Creatify Incorporated. So now, if you listen to their story and then you feel like this is something that you obviously can do, because the truth of the matter is, he talked about earlier on, talked about reading biographies. Now, the reason you do those things is so you can learn those lessons from the people who you're reading about, and you can also begin to implement those in your life. So, Mr. Elvis, I'm coming to you. Obviously, there are challenges with businesses. You know, starting a business can be easy for anyone, not to talk of a young person who is in Nigeria with the environment, economic situations that we find ourselves. So, what are some of the challenges that you guys have experienced, and what are you doing to overcome those challenges?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd have to say, you mentioned environment. I think that is a big factor when it comes to the challenges it presents. Now, the first thing is, like you said, I'm really glad about this entire show. Inspiration is a problem, is a challenge, right? Because there's not enough inspiration out there for people that want to take control of their life. You know, people that want to go out there and start up businesses. You don't really see a lot of people who inspire you to do that, right? And even from your immediate circle, like most times you don't get people encouraging you. What people understand around here is graduate, get a degree and get a job, right? And we're trying to encourage people to take control of their lives, right? So starting a business is basically what that is, looking at what you can offer and then creating a business around that.
Okay.
So one of the challenges is it's getting inspired by people you see around you.
Okay.
You don't see a lot of that. Then another challenge starting up businesses around here is the policies. Policies from the government is just for instance, incorporating a business. We're going to
I'm actually getting there. Right? I'll ask you about what you think the government should do.
No, I'm saying that it's a challenge to incorporating businesses because you see a lot of there's too much bureaucracy.
Okay.
Right, and instead of you feeling welcomed, you want to start up a business. The policies should make you feel welcome, like encourage you to go forward. Now you feel like they repel you instead.
Okay.
Right, you get frustrated by a bunch of all of that. So I'd say inspiration is one thing, the policies is another, right?
Okay.
And I also have to say something that we find challenging too is finding people to work with.
Okay.
That's been a challenge because you find out that you think and you see things in a particular way. And if you want to grow, you need people to grow. So it's hard to find people who see things the way you do. You usually find people who just want to come eat ready meals. You don't want to build
the company. Okay, thank you so much. So in a few words, what are your long-term goals?
Yeah, we are here in television Nigeria. Our long-term goals is to become a bloodstream of many businesses. A bloodstream of many businesses.
So you need to explain that.
So when I mean a bloodstream, I like the way the studio is very beautiful. I must give credit to it, and then how everything. And that I want Creatify to be in a situation where it's the company that powers such kind of businesses like that. And then we look at big businesses, banks, corporations, and all of that. We want to see those businesses succeeding and knowing that Creatify is part of it and then it's playing a major role.
Okay, so you need to make this a lot more clearer.
Okay.
When you say you are there to support businesses, the question is how? What would you do for banks? What would you do for organizations? What do you do for even smaller business people out there who are trying to grow their own businesses?
Okay. Number one, when you think of starting a business, first of all, you need you begin to face the issue of clarity.
Okay.
Now, which is something we do at Creatify. We help businesses understand what they want to do, and then we play a big role in shaping the perception of their businesses.
Okay.
For instance, you want to communicate a particular message about your business, the ideology of your business. You don't just put it out anyhow. There's a proper way to do that.
Okay.
Now you need to start thinking about the branding, which is where we come in. Okay. How you want to brand the perception about the business, starting from the logo design, the colors you want to use to communicate and all of that. And then the way you sound as a business. Do you understand? There are different tunes every business used to sound. So that's the areas we come into. Okay. And then from there, you also want to digitalize the whole process. You also want to digitalize the whole process and then get more wider reach and wider audience, and then that's where we also come in. We also help you with all of those processes and also shaping the perception, how people perceive your business.
Okay, thank you very, very much for that. Final question for today before we end the show. Okay. What do you think the federal government needs to do to ensure that businesses in Nigeria thrive? 60 seconds.
Yeah, I'm happy we're heading there actually. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that they need to do. When you hear about government empowerment, he spoke about policy, so I won't talk about that again. Yeah. When you hear about government empowerment, and then you look at the television, what you see mainly government just supporting product-based businesses. Do you understand? Yeah, and then you see government say they're empowering people, you go and then you look at what you're seeing are people making soap. I mean, no disrespect to that, but when you go, is people making soaps, people making tailoring and all of that, a bunch of this product-based. They don't really support anything that has to do with ideas. So when you hear government putting incentives for smaller businesses, they're not considering the service-based businesses. And then we the service-based company, we're creating something that is competing in a global scale. Okay. Do you understand? So and then we need to be given priority. The government also need to look in our side. We have a law. We have laws, business and societal growth ideas that can actually do so much in mapping and putting the country in a global scale.
All right.
So,
Thank you so very much for that. Thank you. Those are very valid points. Well, Mr. Elvis, as we end the show, what are your final words in terms of your message to young entrepreneurs who are trying to do business or to be like you? What would you say to them quickly?
Okay, well, here's the thing. The first thing is you have to believe in yourself, right? You have to really believe in what you can do. You have to discover yourself, basically. So if you know what you can do, and you believe in that thing, right, just go ahead and do it. The thing is, we have a society that make mistakes look like they're terrible. They actually not.
Okay.
Right, so you shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. Just go out there, do what you can do, and eventually you'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'd like to thank our guests for spending time with us in the studio today, Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Elvis from Creatify Incorporated. And to our viewers at home, I'd just like to say one final word. This is Stay Inspired with Dadson Ogbor on Television Nigeria. I encourage you to go like our Facebook page. It's Television Nigeria on Facebook so that you can watch these videos. And also you can connect with me on social media. My social media handles are on the screen. Dadson Ogbor. You can connect with me. If you're a young entrepreneur or an entrepreneur in Nigeria of any age actually, and you would like to be on this show, so definitely get in touch. Let's hook up. All right, take care. Bye-bye.